Okay, so you want to open a boutique fitness studio. Find the perfect space, put in the exposed brick and the neon sign, load 50 bikes or reformers into the room, and become the person your entire Instagram following suddenly wants to work out with. Sounds simple. It is not simple. Because owning a boutique studio isn't really one business. It's a subscription you didn't know you signed up for, and the lease you just signed is just the entry fee. The real story of what this studio actually costs, what it's actually worth 18 months later, and why so many owners end up closing the doors, not from empty classes, but from math, is one of the strangest stories in all of small business. Here's the paradox nobody tells you walking into that build out. The studio built specifically to prove you found your passion is, for a huge number of owners, the exact thing that proves the numbers were never on your side. Financially, the boutique studio isn't the finish line. For a lot of people, it's the moment everything starts falling apart. Let's start with why this business is so tempting in the first place. Because the appeal is real. You've probably taken a class like this yourself. The lights go down, the music comes up, an instructor with a headset mic is calling out your name, and for 45 minutes you feel like you're part of something bigger than a workout. It feels less like a gym and more like a lifestyle brand you get to belong to. And somewhere in the back of your mind, a thought creeps in. I could run one of these. It's not a crazy thought. Boutique fitness has been one of the fastest growing corners of the entire fitness industry for over a decade. Unlike a traditional big box gym, where the business model is basically sign up thousands of people and hope most of them don't show up, a boutique studio sells something else entirely: community, identity, a reason to tell your friends where you're going on a Tuesday morning. People don't just pay for boutique fitness, they talk about it, they post about it, they build friendships inside it. As a business model, that's incredibly powerful because it means your customers are doing your marketing for you for free every single day. So you start doing the math in your head. A single class might have 20 to 40 people in it, each paying $25 to $40 a class, or locked into a monthly membership worth even more per visit once you calculate it out. Multiply that by 6 or 8 classes a day, 6 days a week, and the revenue potential on paper looks enormous. It's the kind of spreadsheet that makes you want to call a commercial real estate agent that same afternoon. And that's exactly what thousands of people do every single year. Some go the independent route, building their own brand from scratch, choosing their own name, their own logo, their own class formats. Others buy into a franchise, paying an upfront franchise fee plus ongoing royalties for the right to use an established brand name, a proven class format, and a corporate marketing engine already built to bring people through the door. Either path looks like a shortcut to the same dream. The independent route promises full control and the chance to build something that's entirely yours. The franchise route promises a safety net, a playbook someone else already tested, so you're not guessing at what works. Both paths get pitched as the smart way in. Both paths still lead to the exact same set of numbers waiting on the other side of the lease agreement. Here's where the story usually starts to change. Because that beautiful spreadsheet you built in your head, the one with 40 people per class paying full price, describes a studio at full capacity. It does not describe a studio on day one. It does not even describe a studio on day 300. It describes the studio you're hoping to become, not the studio you're actually opening. And the gap between those two studios is where almost all of the real financial story of this business lives. Let's talk about what it actually takes to open the doors, because the number people expect and the number they actually hit are almost never the same. The lease itself is just the beginning. Boutique studios need square footage in high visibility, high foot traffic locations, the kind of retail corner or strip mall spot that costs real money in rent every single month, whether or not a single class fills up. On top of that, you're not just renting empty space, you're building an entire physical experience from scratch. Sound systems that can fill a room without distorting, specialized flooring depending on your format, mirrors, lighting rigs, changing rooms, retail displays for merchandise, and, depending on what kind of studio you're running, the equipment itself. A single stationary bike used in cycling studios can run well over $2,000, and a full room might need 30, 40, even 50 of them. Reformer machines for Pilates style studios can cost even more per unit. None of this is optional. None of this is negotiable down to a bargain price because your entire brand experience depends on it looking and feeling premium. By the time the doors open, many owners have spent $200,000 to $500,000 just getting to day one. And that's before a single class has been taught, before a single membership has been sold, before you know whether your neighborhood actually wants what you're selling. That build out cost is the first entry fee. It is very much not the last one. This is the part of the story that mirrors something almost every asset ownership trap has in common. The sticker price is never the real price. It's just the price of getting in the door. Once the studio is open, the ongoing costs start immediately, and they don't wait for revenue to catch up. Rent doesn't pause because January was slow. Instructor pay doesn't pause because your morning classes are half full. Instructors in boutique fitness are often paid per class taught, or per head that shows up, meaning even a nearly empty class can cost you more to run than it brings in. Insurance, which is non negotiable in a business built entirely around physical injury risk, adds another significant monthly line. Software platforms for booking, scheduling, and payment processing all take their cut, transaction by transaction. Equipment doesn't last forever either. Bikes and reformers need regular maintenance and eventually full replacement, which means the capital expense you thought was a one time cost quietly becomes a recurring one. And here's the detail: almost nobody accounts for going in. Member retention in boutique fitness is brutally difficult. Industry data consistently shows that a huge percentage of new members don't renew past their first few months. That means owners aren't just running a studio, they're running a never ending acquisition machine, constantly having to attract new members just to replace the ones quietly walking away. Every dollar spent on social media ads, referral programs, and promotional class packages is a dollar spent just to stay in the same place, not to grow. This is the subscription metaphor in action. You didn't just buy a studio, you bought an ongoing monthly financial commitment that keeps demanding payment, whether your business is thriving or barely surviving. Here's the number that catches almost every new owner off guard. Even a studio that looks busy on Instagram is often barely profitable because the margins in this business are thinner than they appear from the outside. After paying instructors, rent, insurance, software fees, marketing, and equipment upkeep, many boutique studios operate on profit margins in the single digits, sometimes as low as 5 to 10% of revenue. That means a studio doing $400,000 a year in memberships might be taking home only $20 to $40,000 in actual profit, after the owner has often put in 60 or 70-hour weeks personally teaching classes, managing instructors, and handling the books themselves. Compare that to the six-figure investment it took to open the doors in the first place, and the math starts to look uncomfortable fast. You can be running a studio that looks, from the outside, like a total success: full classes, a loyal following, a great Instagram feed, and still be barely breaking even or quietly losing money every single month. And unlike a lot of businesses, boutique fitness studios have a hard physical ceiling on how much that margin can actually grow. A studio only has so many square feet, which means only so many bikes or mats fit in a room, which means only so many people can pay for any single class. No matter how popular the studio becomes, you can't scale a single location the way you can scale a software product or an online course. Once every class is full and every time slot is booked, the only way to grow revenue at that location is to raise prices, which risks pushing out the very members who built the community in the first place. That ceiling is exactly why so many studio owners eventually look at opening a second location, and exactly why that second location often repeats the entire cost structure of the first one without automatically doubling the profit. There's one more layer to this that almost no first-time owner accounts for, and it's the one that ends up sinking studios that were otherwise doing everything right: burnout. Because unlike a lot of small businesses, a boutique fitness studio's product is, quite literally, the owner's own body and energy for a huge portion of the early days. Many owners start out teaching the majority of classes themselves, both to control costs and because their personal brand is often the reason people showed up in the first place. That works for a while. It does not work forever. Physical injury, exhaustion, and simple burnout are enormously common in this industry. And when the owner who is also the star instructor has to step back, Studios often see an immediate and painful drop in attendance because the community wasn't just built around the workout, it was built around a person. This is the version of resale value drop that's unique to this business. It's not a car losing value in a driveway. It's an entire business model that was quietly dependent on one person's physical stamina, and nobody put that risk on the original spreadsheet. So, how does it actually end? Almost never in some dramatic collapse. It ends the way most financial traps end, slowly, then all at once. An owner opens strong, rides a wave of initial excitement and grand opening promotions, and hits decent numbers in year one. Then renewal rates dip in year two, exactly as most new members' motivation naturally fades. Marketing costs creep up as the owner tries to replace churn members with new signups. A key instructor leaves and takes a chunk of loyal regulars with them to their next studio. Equipment starts needing replacement right as cash flow tightens. And at some point, usually around the 18 to 30-month mark, the owner realizes they've been personally subsidizing the business out of savings for months, not because of one bad decision, but because the entire financial structure was thinner than it looked from the outside. That's the pattern behind so many boutique studios quietly closing their doors or getting sold off to another owner at a fraction of what it cost to build. Not one crash, just math, compounding month after month until it becomes impossible to ignore. And when the studio does finally sell, it almost never sells for anything close to what it cost to build. Unlike a home or a car, a fitness studio has very little resale value in the equipment itself. Used bikes and reformers sell for cents on the dollar, and the build-out, the flooring, the sound system, the branded mirrors, none of that transfers to a buyer who wants their own look and their own name on the door. What an owner is really selling, if they can sell at all, is the membership list and the lease itself. And both of those are only as valuable as the next owner believes they can keep the community together. Most of the time, they can't. And the sale price reflects that. The studio that cost $300,000 to open might sell years later for a fraction of that number, if it sells at all instead of simply closing. So here's the actual truth behind that dream you had. Standing in a class with the lights down and the music up, thinking, I could run one of these. You can. People do it every single year, and a meaningful number of them make it work. This isn't a business that's impossible to succeed in. But the studio that looked like the finish line, the proof that you'd built something real, is for a huge number of owners the exact moment the real financial test begins. The lease you signed wasn't the purchase. It was the entry fee into an ongoing monthly commitment that never fully stops asking for more. More instructors, more marketing, more equipment, more of your own physical energy, long after the grand opening banner comes down. The boutique studio isn't the finish line. For a lot of people, it's the moment everything starts.